Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the webinar, GoDigi Australia's first holistic response to our digital literacy deficiency. My name is Sakina Vora, and I'm the Volunteer Events and Marketing Officer here at Connecting Up. Our speaker today is Brendan Fitzgerald. Brendan has extensive experience in developing and delivering community-based ICT programs. He currently oversees the implementation and development of InfoExchange digital inclusion strategy. This includes a range of initiatives which engages disadvantaged people with digital technologies, including programs that connect low-income public housing residents with affordable technology. So before I hand over to Brendan, just wanted to go through some housekeeping notes. To those who are new, please feel free to type in your questions in the question box, and we will make sure to address as we go through the presentation. This presentation is being recorded, so everybody present will receive an email with a link to the recording and slides by end of day today. If you're facing any technical issues, like if you're unable to see the slides or are facing any audio issues, please type them as well, and we will get it sorted out for you. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to Brendan. Sorry, Brendan, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here. So are you ready to go?
Yes, absolutely. Go. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, I was just contemplating the afternoon. So good morning, everybody. I hope you're all well. As Sakina said, I'll be talking about a particular project we're working on here in InfoExchange in partnership with Australia Post, which is a 4-year national digital literacy program which we're rolling out across the country over the next 3 to 4 years. As we go, look, I'm really happy for the audience to ask questions as we go, so I'm quite happy to take those, whether they're done through the chat or through direct microphone. I'm very happy for that, so very happy to take questions as we go. As I said, the main focus of this morning is really to give you a sense of what we've got planned for GoDigi and why we're doing it. So I thought I'd start off with a little bit about InfoExchange as to who we are, and some of you may know us reasonably well. And for those of you who've not heard much about the work we're doing, I'll take you through pretty much probably those pieces of work that have the digital inclusion focus. We're a much broader organisation, and I'll give you a sense of that. I'll talk a little bit about digital inclusion in Australia as it currently stands, and some of the research that we've been involved in, and CSIRO in particular have produced in the last year or two, which will give you a really good sense of why this is such a critical issue, and then specifically talk about the GoDigi project and how that is shaped and how we intend to roll that out. And also, just finally, I'll talk a little bit about how you can perhaps get involved in the program. So that's the agenda for this morning, and as I said, I'm very happy to take questions as we go, and quite pleased to do that, and we'll answer them as best as I possibly can. As many of you know, we've been around, or some of you may know, we've been around for 25 years. InfoExchange started out in a small garage, I believe, in Springvale, looking at developing as most startups do, in small garages somewhere, looking to start up. I suppose solved an issue around how people in public housing or people in housing or without a housing crisis can get access to beds and that sort of thing using technology. So a database was essentially created in about 25 years ago that enabled those bodies working in public housing here in Melbourne, because I should say we're actually Melbourne-based largely, to be able to refer on to other places, clients and so forth, that come in looking for accommodation. So essentially we started as a fairly small database, and we've grown through time and built around ourselves a range of technologies that support not only those individuals, such as the people I've talked about coming into, looking for accommodation, but people who, the organisations who support them. So we've done a lot of work with the community sector and not-for-profit sector around ranging from working in public housing through to those in the homelessness sector and so on. So as you can see, we both support individuals, and the GoDigi project particularly is about working with improving the digital literacy skills and capacity and confidence of over 300,000 Australians, so that's our target. But our other parts of our organisation look at improving the capacity and the capability of organisations who are supporting those individuals. So whether that be at the community health level, the homelessness organisations such as the Brotherhood and Anglicare and Red Cross, who we will support with their ICT needs. So, very much our tagline is technology for social justice, and we look to I guess, provide opportunities for organisations and individuals to engage and participate in society in a way which is fair and equal, and recognising that technology, and certainly over the last 20 years or so, that technology is having a really, really big impact upon how people can participate and can actually effectively live and participate in life, in all aspects of life. As I said, the three areas, well, I haven't said this, but the three areas that really occupy our mind are around digital inclusion, which is my direct area as the manager of digital inclusion, and these tend to be projects such as the GoDigi one, or some of the work we've done on the housing estates, where we're working directly with individuals, improving their access to technology, whether that be through something like our Green PC enterprise, which we're able to sell refurbished computers to people on low income. So giving new life to old gear, but also giving an opportunity for people who normally couldn't afford a laptop or a desktop computer, that access that equipment. But also increasingly what we're seeing in this digital inclusion space, we're starting to see greater need for the digital literacy skills. And when I get onto GoDigi, you'll see how that has actually been shaped. But I think many of you will understand that everything ranging from how you put your footy tips online through to how you do your banking, almost every job that's advertised, I think it's about 80% of them now are being done digitally or online. So if you can't actually work in that online space and don't have the skills to do so, then you're really missing out. The other two spaces we work in, the digital proficiency area, where we actually, and this is where I alluded to earlier around how we work with not-for-profits and other organisations, and in trying to improve their effectiveness both as individual organisations and as a sector more broadly. We have, I should have said earlier, there's about 100 staff across Info Exchange, most here in Melbourne. We have about 9 in Brisbane. We have another 9 or 10 over in New Zealand. And over in New Zealand, we're working for the New Zealand government there's about 50 not-for-profits in Christchurch in particular who, for example, no longer have an office, or if they did, their records aren't accessible, or they've lost them in the reasonably recent earthquake. So we've been doing a lot of cloud computing, setting up that kind of ICT support that they can manage themselves, and really improving their capacity so that they can put more focus and energy onto working with their client base. So you can see in those two areas how we as an organisation really want better outcomes for individuals, but are doing it both directly and working through the agencies and the organisations who work with people who might actually have what we call digital disadvantage. The other third area that occupies our mind is really around digital empowerment and thinking about how we can actually showcase the benefits of digital technologies for our communities. And we've been working in this space with a range of organisations. Anglicare Tasmania, we're just about to launch at TASCOS this week on Friday, a work that mainly they oversaw, looking at how low-income Tasmanians use technologies. Now, if you get a chance to get hold of a copy of that report on Friday, I'd highly recommend it because there's quite interesting findings in that. We've been working with Melbourne University and working with IBIS there and how they, a piece of research in looking at how people with disabilities can engage with, effectively and meaningfully in the workforce using telework as a means of doing that. We've been working with Southern Cross University and CSIRO in better understanding public housing and how people in public housing use or don't use technology and some of the things that need to be resolved there. So the digital empowerment space is really around showcasing and bringing to life both the best practice and the opportunities that exist in this space, but also really trying to build the research and business case for better digital inclusion in Australia. And there are a number of, as I said, research organisations, both the kind of community sector ones such as the Brotherhood and Anglicare Tasmania and Anglicare and Salvation Army, who are working quite strongly in this area, and they're also the academic world such as Melbourne University and Swinburne and Southern Cross and so forth. So those are the three areas that really inform our social objectives and really underpin our mission of technology for social justice. Just quickly, just to give you a sense of our services, I won't dwell on this too long, but we do cover a breadth, as an organisation we do cover a breadth of services underneath those three portfolios, and they range from things like I mentioned the Grand PC, we're developing low-cost computers. We're working in partnership with Work Ventures in Sydney, based in Sydney, to really try and grow that. So again, recognising that the sector needs to work together and to try and to achieve the outcomes that we want as a community and not-for-profit sector. Obviously, sitting in the middle there is the service seeker database, which was very much the genesis of Info Exchange. But we're also, the bottom tile, the bottom two tiles, I mean, digital inclusion, really seeking to develop equal access and digital skills for all. But we're also playing in spaces such as the software testing which we have a team, the Test IT, which we have a team of testers who have Asperger's, who, recognising that there's actually a growing need for better quality software testing, whether it be accessibility or functional testing, of which we actually have a need ourselves as a technology-based organisation, but recognising that there's a particular cohort of people with Asperger's who have very strong skills. In fact, actually have quite distinctive advantages in this space in being able to identify errors very, regularly and over long periods of time, and accuracy levels incredibly high. So trying to develop new social enterprises that provide opportunity for all sorts of people who might be missing out. So that's a bit of a bit of a run through of who we are, the sorts of things that interest us, the sorts of focus we have, how we have things that have stayed with us for a period of time, and how we're also looking to develop new things. So that's Info Exchange, and as I said, some of you will know a little bit about us. Certainly, there's a lot more information on our website if you wish to drill down on who we are and just sort of things. But we are very broad in what we offer, but very much in that technology for social justice as our kind of mantra. Just on digital inclusion in Australia, this slide here refers to some work that CSIRO completed in 2013. Now, what is interesting about this is that at the same time this was being produced, we were doing our pitch to Australia Post for what's now the GoDigi project. And rather interestingly, the sort of things that CSIRO identified as solutions to this this critical problem. I mean, if you think that 1 in 5 adult Australians are not using the internet, that's 4 million people. That, from a pure business case, that's a lot of accounts that Telstra doesn't currently have. If you start multiplying that out by maybe a $29 a monthly account through 12 months across 4 million people, you're starting to talk really serious amounts of money. But I guess in our ISP space, the critical end of town, the big end of town, is of much more interest than the poorer end of town. So for those people who either aren't connected to the internet or have limited access, the challenges are very clear. They're around lack of certainty and low awareness. The big challenge we find is around confidence, and linked to that. And if you think about who these people are, they're older Australians, they're people from migrant backgrounds. To some degree they're Indigenous, and to a large degree they're rural and remote Australians. So they're really quite disparate people. In public housing, for example, there's 51% of people in public housing are not connected to the internet. So that's a lot of people who, when you think about the government's push for digital first in 2017, that's a lot of people who the Australian government and the state-based governments want to engage with and actually need to engage with on a transactional basis. And as they push their services online and online only, and online first, a lot of these people will be left behind. And the big thing the big challenge they're facing, as much as anything, is obviously a resourcing challenge around can they afford to pay for a monthly account, a device, and so forth. But it's around the confidence and lack of necessary skills. So, that's one of the solutions, and GoDigi, which we were pitching to Australia Post at the time, is part of that solution. We wouldn't pretend that it's everything, but it certainly will start going towards, certainly start moving towards one way of providing a bit of an answer to how we resolve that challenge around confidence and lack of necessary skills that exist in that cohort. The other thing I should say too, I guess if you think about 4,000 people, 4 million people, or 3.7 I think was the last count, who are not effectively online, I suppose on the upside that means it's 3.7 million people who aren't on Twitter criticising the government or so forth. So, so there's probably a vested interest in that at some point. The CSIRO also talked about how they build those bridges, and one of the critical things is looking at how digital literacy through education and training, and how we can actually use that as a tool to break down those barriers of use. So, as I said, this work is being produced around the same time that we're approaching Australia Post with the GoDigi project. The other thing I should point out is that this work has been done it's been done from the productivity flagship of CSIRO, and what they're looking at is actually what they impact on the GDP. So it's actually quite, there's some serious financial reasons why Australia should actually bridge that broadband gap. And as I said, GoDigi is one of those solutions to how we can actually go about doing that. I should have also mentioned, in terms of Info Exchange's digital inclusion framework, which is key to a lot of the work we now do. You can see down the bottom of the slide there's the core foundations of digital inclusion, and these have often been the things that perhaps over the last 10, 20 years have been the key focus around things like affordable hardware and affordable access. Increasingly we're seeing digital literacy. But when you actually combine all of those things together, you're starting to move through into those things that we really actually want, which are the social outcomes. So how does a community improve its social engagement? Can educational outcomes be improved by technology? We're seeing this in engagements we've got with, say, for example, Deakin University, who have a lot of rural and remote students out into country Victoria, have poor connection. So one of the critical issues they actually have is bandwidth equality. So are they getting as good educational outcomes as those people who are living close to the the lecture centres and the libraries, etc., that are around Deakin University? Is there an impact on economic development? What are the social outcomes we want there? Civic engagement is another critical piece in terms of what the digital inclusion framework looks like. And the other one I'd mention is quality of life. And we're seeing this a lot around some of the work we're doing with seniors, and we've got a couple of projects in aged care facilities where we're working with iPads and supporting people living in those aged care facilities and being able to better understand how to use those technologies for a range of reasons, quality of life outcomes such as armchair travelling, better memory development. So you're seeing health and wellbeing outcomes coming into this. So that's our framework, and I think it's important to have a look at that or to understand it, because that's the lens by which Info Exchange looks at all the work we do around digital inclusion. Just a quick slide on who our current partners are. You can see from the breadth of work we do, you would imagine there's also a breadth of partners in play there. I've mentioned Australia Post. We've got a project with Telstra Foundation. We've long had a relationship with Microsoft, with GreenPC, who provide us with extremely cheap license for the Microsoft Office suite. I think we sold close to 30,000, if not more, computers over 25 years we've been in operation to people on low income. And I'm sure our colleagues in Workventures up in Sydney would have a very similar, perhaps even a bigger number. So the work that Microsoft in supporting us and Workventures in being able to provide an offer for people on low income has been incredibly important. Our relationships with the local level are very important. So City of Yarra, obviously we're based in City of Yarra here in Melbourne, but also as we go out, City of Geelong and so forth. And of course I've mentioned our funding partners and some of our research partners. So we're very much an organisation that recognises that solutions to digital inclusion come from a range of organisations, a range of partners, a range of collaborators. And this screenshot gives you a sense of some of those that we're currently working with. Now I'll just move quickly on to some of the work that we've done over time with some of those partners. Some of you will be aware that one of the kind of flagship digital inclusion programs that we've had here in Melbourne, and probably the biggest digital inclusion program that Australia has seen, has been the wiring up of the Collingwood and Richmond Fitzroy housing estates. Over 4,000 apartments connected to the internet, people trained on how to use technology, given GreenPC as part of that program, and a range of other supporting activities, which have now gone on for, in one case, over 10 years. And some work that happened about 2009, a bit of an evaluation of what that actually means in terms of a dollar value, is around $5.9 million of benefits over 5 years to that, just the Fitzroy community alone. So this is done by A.T. Kearney, and so you can start seeing, yes, the digital inclusion framework looks at what's the value, what are the social outcomes we want. But here you're seeing some work, and there's not enough of this work being done here in Australia at this point. I point to this work, A.T. Kearney, only because it's one of the few that exists. It really starts saying, okay, if we do digital inclusion, what's the financial benefit? What's the hard financial benefit? And I think you're starting to see across those areas of health and wellbeing and transactional efficiencies, education and employment, you're starting to see real dollar benefits. And I think we'll start seeing more of a conversation of that as organisations or parts of government, particularly DHS, who need to engage, as I said, with huge numbers of Australians and are pushing their services online. So there are clear transactional efficiencies. I think there's some work done in the UK that pointed to one face-to-face transaction is worth about 100 online. So you can see the administrative value of that. But how do you actually do that in a much more cohesive and much more community-focused way? So yes, there are real benefits in digital inclusion. As I said, referenced earlier, the work done by CSIRO, they also, I suppose in a sense, build on the work that we've done with the A.T. Kearney report and looking at some of the economic benefits. And they look down to the household level, and there are really some significant outcomes here in terms of, they calculate that over $700 a year benefit for communication, for information media, around $100,000 a year. They think the fourth dot point, greater variety of goods and services, could in fact be the biggest benefit over time, and whether that's sort of shopping online and being able to do a lot of work, from online lot of the kind of transactional things in terms of goods and services, and therefore actually saving a lot in terms of travel time, personal time, the face-to-face stuff. So as you can see, just for a household alone, you're probably looking at a $3,000–4,000 benefit at a household. Currently, as it stands, that will only grow and change in an upward direction. So one of the things, so that's the case, I guess, for who we are, why we do what we do, and how we look at things. So how we look at digital inclusion. GoDigi is a project that Australia Post in partnership with us at Info Exchange will be rolling out over the next 4 years. So GoDigi is one of the critical solutions to how we solve that issue of how we improve the digital capacity and confidence of Australians. Now, what we're setting out to do is to reach over 300,000 Australians across a 4-year period and improve their digital literacy. And we've identified 6 ways of doing this. Firstly, there are 4 essentially learning aspects to the program. And I'll take you through each one of those individually, but there's a digital platform which we're building currently and should be live coming, I think, in about 2 or 3 weeks. I think it's December the 10th is we're looking at that date. So the platform, which is GoDigi.net.au, should be live on December, I think it's December the 15th, but I can certainly let Sakina know the exact dates and ensure that that you as an audience get a chance to be alerted to that. Linked to that platform are a number of kind of 3 key face-to-face and online learning activities. So we're developing a partner network, and one of the things we recognise in developing this program is that we can't solve this problem alone. So we recognise that there are a lot of digital literacy and computer learning programs in action on the ground in Australia. So if you think about public libraries, you think about neighbourhood houses, men's sheds, U3A, there are a lot of organisations, and you think about the reach of those 4 alone. There are a lot of organisations on the ground doing training. So we're looking at GoDigi as being a way of supporting the work they're doing. So the platform will have, and I'll give you a look at what it looks like shortly. The platform will have, I think it's close to 80 learning guides, and they range from how to use technology through to interest-based stuff, so gardening, knitting and so forth. So looking to create a set of resources that will be useful for that partner network. We see the partner network as being absolutely critical in reaching mentors. So the mentor program will be where someone can sign up, a friend, a neighbour, a family member, to either mentor themselves, so if they feel they've got strong digital literacy skills, so essentially volunteer to do mentoring of people that might be in the neighbourhood, and working through the partner network, so through the libraries and the men's sheds, etc., as being the way in which they connect. And that in itself recognises the strength of peer-to-peer learning. And the other thing too is around making more visible those learning events that are happening out in the country, across the country. And these include what we're calling community pop-ups, so looking to take learning to where people are, take learning opportunities and awareness. And the final 2 down the bottom are looking at 2016 as being a year, not so much learning as such, but really 2 aspects of the program are looking to raise awareness of digital inclusion and digital literacy, and to showcase all the good things that both are coming through this program, but also are happening around the country. So we've normally called 2016 the Year of Digital Inclusion. It will include a conversation stall which will rotate around all major capital cities and some you know, regional and rural centres, and really for a chance for organisations to showcase the work they're doing, to continue the conversation about digital literacy and training and learning, and to really put a spotlight upon why this is a really critical and important issue. So they're the 6 elements. There's you know, this slide and the next slide actually take you through in more of a text-based model, but you know, the digital platform, as I said, will have will allow individuals to learn digital skills directly online, so you can take yourself through a training program, self-guided. It'll also enable people to find face-to-face learning opportunities. So those network partners, whether it be a public library or a U3A or neighbourhood houses running training programs, they can upload their events and certainly allow anyone to be able to find them, and that will actually create quite a useful tool for a number of those network partners. And also looking to develop, as I said, a mentoring program which will allow individuals to partake with online face-to-face learning, whether it be colleagues, family, friends or neighbours, and again connecting up with that digital network and network partners that we're working with. And as I said, the pop-up community sessions, we've already held one down in Geelong at a housing estate out in East Geelong with the digital, and Geelong, City of Geelong have been fabulous. They've started their own digital inclusion network down there. Instead of running one pop-up, they're now running 10 across the next year or so. So in a sense, with GoDigi, we're wanting to create a sense of a movement more than anything else, not a project we're rolling out with a beginning and end and so forth, but a sense of a movement that people want to get engaged and involved. And the session we ran at Geelong in partnership with the City of Geelong and Good Money Finance, the library, U3A and the Men's Sheds was at a public housing estate in Whittington, part of their, I suppose, their Halloween festival, the Flame Fest on October 31st. And we're able to engage with quite a lot of the community and really you know, help point them to resources that you know, that we would have on GoDigi, but also through our colleagues at the local library who are able to sign them up to training programs and so forth. So, you know, in a sense, taking learning out to where people are. So using, you know, whether it be post offices, who are obviously one of our major partners, but neighbourhood houses, those community gatherings, so whether it be a festival or you know, an agricultural show. We're talking to Eastern regional libraries, and they actually have a series of vans that go out. So their pop-up sessions might be actually in these vans that go to aged care centres, to kindergartens. They even go to their local football finals and set up vans and so forth. So really taking learning opportunities and awareness to where people are. As I think I might have overlooked, you know, I think I've said we're going to aim to improve the skills of 300,000 Australians, and these are from a range of backgrounds, so and a range of locations. I've mentioned also digital conversations and the National Year of Digital Inclusion. So as you can see, that's a series of talks and programs that run around Australian capital cities and major regional centres, you know, with an aim of really making digital inclusion and digital literacy part of the national conversation. I thought it might be worth just having a quick look at the areas. I don't know if any of the audience come from any of those areas, but I thought it might be worth having a look at those sort of, because we're really keen on trying to align. Yes, this is a national program, but we certainly want to align some of our physical pop-ups and some of our more direct training opportunities with those areas where we actually know there is this digital disadvantage. So you can see we've been doing a fair bit of work on what that looks like, and we've been getting, obviously working with our colleagues at CSIRO, we've been getting a lot of interest. You know, the program was announced I think in April this year, and from there we haven't really been publicising it because obviously building the digital platform has been our main focus, which I think December the 14th it should be live. we've been getting a lot of interest from around the country and from varying organisations, whether it be local government, whether it be peak bodies like the Australian Local Government Association or the Australian Library Information Association, neighbourhood houses, getting interest from government departments. So there is, we're seeing a groundswell of organisations, of individuals even, who want to be part of GoDigi. And you can see from that the work we've been doing here and trying to map where the biggest disadvantage is. You can see some of the kind of focus areas that we'd like to take the program. Just quickly, something around that I think it's worth having a look at this is, and again this is one of the underpinning principles, I guess, behind delivering GoDigi, is that there is a big issue around online confidence and behaviour. We find, and this slide comes from some work we've done around our user experience planning for the platform. In doing that, what we've discovered is that people do have technology skills. People can use technology. The big issues are actually not necessarily around access or yes, there's access and affordability and actually understanding how to use technology. Those three things are quite critical to a degree. The big barrier is online confidence and the behaviours around that. And we found that there are these really kind of 7 stages that people go through, and this is particularly with the cohort that will be using GoDigi. So you get this kind of very early stages. I'm not interested in technology at all, and that's a really hard nut to crack. But you get these baby steps from slightly interested, I feel pressured, and you're going to start. I think we're seeing a lot of it now as governments in particular. It's not only governments. You're seeing it in the banking sector, and you're seeing it all, a whole lot of commercial ways. People are feeling pressured to get online and feel they have to actually do it. So, but really interesting thing for us is that once you get through to this confidence, levels 5 and 6, people very quickly move into the final stages, I guess. It may not be expressed in I know everything, and if I don't, I'll work it out exactly. But it's very strongly, their confidence rises very quickly once they get a degree of use under their belt. The other thing we discovered, which I thought was quite interesting, is that we found in doing our user experience research that people have a spread of technology. It's not just kind of I have no skills at all. We found people who I'm thinking particularly some of the people who from our public housing communities who would be using a Chinese version of Facebook and be absolutely all over it. They would know everything about how to communicate with their friends and send photographs and upload this and download that. But then they'd rate themselves as being not very good at technology. But in that one kind of application that they're using, whether it be a Facebook or what it might be, an Instagram, they are absolute experts. So that's another finding I think is quite important in our understanding. There are everyone has some technology they actually do know well. Just in turn, I talked a little bit. I won't dwell on this slide, but you can see the spread of interest in what we're doing, whether it comes from peak bodies or government or councils. A really strong, from if you think of councils, the community sector, and libraries alone, which make up close to 3/4 of our interest, which is well over 300 bodies at this point, 300 organisations. You're starting to see that we'll get that real sense that there is actually a groundswell, that there's a need here for that's being recognised at the very local level. I'll quickly move on to some of the, to give you a sense of what GoDigi will look like. And as I said, December 14th, around that date, you'll start seeing the site go live. We've designed it, and you can see from that user research work we've done, we've designed it in a way that is really accessible and easily understood by people who who perhaps have very low digital literacy skills. So the three key elements of the site are around the learner coming there to learn digital skills themselves, mentors who want to help others, and of course those partner networks. So it's a very simple, clear design. We have help all the way down the side, all throughout the site. So, and we recognise too, just rather interestingly, is that the cohort that will be using this site very much around printing and saving to the computer. So we've actually made it quite visible, those two activities, as well as sharing the page with others. Although that will be less of a, I think, less of an action that they actually undertake. Just to take you through some of the learning guides, bear in mind that the lorem ipsum is just filler text, if you like, although it's actually not. It comes from I think quite a well-known Latin work, but anyway. So you can see from the learning guides, they're again created very simply. They're written at a level that's about Year 7, so they're written essentially in what's called easy English. So that will allow us the capacity to, because I should say this is all being done in English at this point. So that will allow us, certainly at a later stage, to be able to translate some into other languages. And we do have some interest at this point from various community groups who are looking at whether there's a need in Chinese, or I think there's a Macedonian group who Australia posed policy contact with. So there is an interest from different language groups who want the resources created in their language. We'll also, the other thing I should say about GoDigi, we'll also be yes, our guides will be useful at a very base fundamental level, but we'll also have ways in which people can step up to other learning, technical learning. So Info Exchange, for example, is a Microsoft Academy. So we'll be creating links through GoDigi to the kind of publicly available Microsoft Academy resources. Same goes, we're also a Cisco Academy as well, so we'll be looking to create links and avenues and pathways where that material can also be utilised by self-paced learners. And there's a range of other learning resources out there that we can also umbrella through GoDigi. Yeah, so there's a range of guides. I won't take, this is just an example of the LinkedIn guide. So if someone's looking for a job, so how do you set up a LinkedIn account? People can rate the guide. We get a sense of how long it takes to read, how long it takes to go through. You can see from these two, what do I need to follow this guide? So really being clear that they need to be connected to the internet, they need to have an email address. So ensuring that those fundamental steps are in place and in progress, so that people can get a sense of how to do this relatively easily. And you can gather that one of the challenges we've had with this site is actually creating something that at one level is really quite simple and easy to navigate for a group, for a cohort that hasn't got huge amounts of experience in terms of using the internet and the web, but also developing something that has at another level something quite complex in terms of the navigation of learning guides and creation of those learning guides, and also ensuring there's logins and sign-ups, and making sure that those sort of things that you'll see on most websites don't get in the way of the learning. So that's been quite a balance. We also, I should point out, we have a blog on here as well, which will allow obviously the handy extras is where the other learning materials are. The blog is where we'll be able to celebrate and showcase the sorts of things that are happening throughout the program. I won't take you through any. You'll get a chance, as I said, in a few weeks' time to really play around with the site. Can I ask you? I'd really welcome when you get a chance to when the site goes live. Any feedback would be just fabulous. Ranging from whether you don't like it through to whether you just absolutely love it. but certainly I really want to open up to the audience here if there's an opportunity for you to feed back into the site, and connections that we might be able to pick up on, additional ideas. Have we missed on some learning materials that might also be out there we could bring into this? Other network partners that you think that would be, will really get a great benefit out of using and becoming part of GoDigi. So I'll put it out there that very much welcome feedback. And as I said earlier to Sakina, we'll make this. I'll alert you when that date or when the site goes live. Just quickly flipping through the slides, you can start. These are just starting. I mean, I would have loved to giving you a live version of it, but these are just some of the kind of screenshots of what it's starting to look like. And you can see it's a very clear, clean, easy to use a website designed for that cohort in mind. So that's the website in a nutshell. And as I said, it's the key part of the program, but also not to forget that the online, the face-to-face and the on-the-ground work we're doing with the partners across the next 4 years, of 3 or 4 years, will be very valuable. So that's it in a nutshell. So hopefully I've not run over time with this webinar. 3 ways, or a couple of ways that you can certainly get involved with the work we do. And the one I just would highly recommend is if you see great value in GoDigi's approach, please volunteer to be part of that. And we'll be looking for mentors, so you can. My email address is there, and you can contact me directly. I very much welcome that. The other things, InfoExchange, as I said when I started out, has a broad range of activities that we do, and we are a social enterprise. We're not for profit. We're also a charity. So if any of you wanted to donate cash, that'd be fabulous. But one of the things we do, we just got a rather large surplus IT equipment donation this morning, which we can then reuse through our networks, or whether that be ourselves or through our partners, through ICT consulting services. Or the other thing we do is we actually on-sell some of our equipment, and that helps fund a range of our digital inclusion activities. So they're probably 2 ways that I'd recommend you think about getting involved with InfoExchange. Certainly volunteering for GoDigi would be fabulous, and we're really looking to grow that across the country. So, Sakina, I will finish there. No one, as far as I can tell, no one's asked me questions that have gone, but I'm very happy to answer anything that anyone's got for me now.
Thank you, Brendan. Actually, I had a question. So,
Yep.
Can anybody volunteer? Can it be an individual, an organization?
Yeah, anyone can volunteer. We're looking to. There's probably a couple of layers of that. We're looking for the organisations to volunteer. And here I'm talking about public libraries and local government and neighbourhood houses. So that they would have an interest in volunteering as a network partner. But we're looking also for individuals. So if you wanted to, if you say, I don't know, you thought your next door neighbour or your mother or your auntie was really in need of some work, and you thought, I've got the digital, I've got the skills to do this. I've now got a resource I can call upon. I can take, for example, there'll be you saw the LinkedIn guide. There'll be guides to Skype, how to use. So your auntie might be wanting to communicate with others and not quite sure. So you could take her through the Skype guide and mentor her. So we could actually you could sign up as a mentor. So they're probably the 2 ways which we would. So yes, we would take organisations and individuals. In some cases, the way we will do work with individuals is, I know you're South Australia based. We've got some interest around a number of local government bodies in South Australia. So Salisbury is one, Unley is another. that that easily come to mind. I don't know if so we would try. So if one of your if the area you live in, the public library there, for example, or the neighbourhood house was a network partner, we would put you in contact with them, and so you would become a mentor for that they could use. So if they identify people in their community that might come through their front door that indicated an interest in learning more around digital literacy, and we'd use them to connect up with you as well. But yes, we would take both organisations and individuals.
Wonderful. We do have a question here from Gregory. Will the website be available on mobile devices or tablets?
Yes. In fact, it's that's. Thanks, Gregory, for asking that, because I should have mentioned we've actually designed it to be I suppose someone referred to it thumpable, which means that big fat fingers like mine can actually use it on a tablet or a mobile device. So it does have responsive, I think it's called responsive design principles sitting behind it. We're very conscious of these. Think of the older cohort. A lot of them get gifted phones. One of the things we also discovered is that, and it's probably no great surprise, a lot of the over 55s will have a mobile phone or a smartphone, but they'll be using it as a phone, not as an internet connected device. So we're very conscious of ensuring that we actually designed it in a way that could be used both on the web, laptop or desktop connected, or whether we could use it for those people on the go, whether it be mobile or laptop, tablet based. So yes, we've done it in that way. So and look, Gregory, I'd welcome when you get a chance to see the site, if you find any errors or things that need fixing up on it from that kind of mobile perspective, because as you'll probably be aware, there are always bugs or whatever that go out in the beta version. Very welcome your feedback.
Wonderful. We have another question here from Ganesh. For remote locations where it will be hard to find mentors, can the sessions be run via other means such as Skype?
Look, I'd say yes. That actually is a really good question. We certainly haven't really planned that far ahead, but I think that's probably that's one of the ways we're thinking about. The other way might be around whether we get some sort of 1-800 volunteer tree, which is an idea that we come up with earlier this week. So I might Ganesh, can I squirm out of that question? But I think it's a really fabulous idea, and I think there are obviously some issues around. One thing I should have mentioned, we're also a partner in the Broadband for the Bush Alliance, so we're very aware of certainly how some of remote and inland Australia in particular, how difficult internet connections can be, particularly because a lot of them are on either slow connections or pretty much all of them are on a satellite connection, which has the delay that's caused by bouncing from satellite to Earth. Look, that's a really fabulous idea. Ganesh, if you're able to sort of allow us to steal that off you, we'd be very grateful. I think it's great feedback. But yeah, we haven't planned that, to be quite honest. But I think it's a really good way around how we might be able to do some of that mentoring. The other thing I should say is the mentoring program was starting very simply early on. So looking to work with the partners that are existing on the ground. As the program rolls out, we're seeing some of these quite creative ways in which mentoring can take place, and Ganesh, that's a really creative use. In fact, that could bring in, just thinking off the top of my head, that could actually bring in involvement from other countries, from people from all parts of the world who want to be involved in mentoring others. So there's a lot, there's a lot of gold in what you just asked.
Well, Brendan, Ganesh says no problem. And we have a question here from Julie. For network partners, what is required of them? What does it take to become a network partner, and what are they required to do?
Yep. Network partner essentially would be an organisation. So I've talked about libraries and neighbourhood houses. We would be looking, so in terms of the sign-up process, we'd be looking for, you'd have to be an authorised person from that organisation, so CEO or general manager or something, who would actually sign up. Now, because the reason we do it that way is we're getting a lot of interest from all sorts of organisations, from all sorts of individuals inside of organisations. We want to make sure that GoDigi is owned by those organisations. So the way to do that is through the sign-up being done by the CEO or general manager, or the leading trainer, that sort of thing. We are creating a network partner pack, and in that pack there will be guidance on what we expect from the mentor process. There would be a requirement around, I've got on the screen here Bendigo Neighbourhood House as an example. There's some data that they would be required to put into the site. There'd be some upkeep that's required to be put into the site. In the case of some of these on-the-ground training, we're also looking to gather data from them about numbers of attendance and satisfaction rates and confidence levels, those sort of things. So that there's a really great benefit in doing that, because if we're starting to, one of the things that GoDigi will do is really start getting some quite strong data nationally about the impact of that, the impact of those training programs that, say, for example, Bendigo Neighbourhood House are running. There'll be some requirements around them identifying their trainers. So the reason we do wanting that to be done is because we recognise that individuals out there in the community who might not have high levels of confidence, or might not be keen to approach a learning centre, are more likely to do so if they can see a photograph of, you can see on here, it's got that's a blank one at the moment, but if they can see a friendly photograph and they have a personal contact. And I think, from the neighbourhood house or library end, you'll get the same, you get an understanding of that. So they're the kind of core things that we expect. We also expect that, and I know this from the library world, that there's a real eagerness to start celebrating the stories that are happening on the ground. So through the blog, there's an opportunity for those network partners to upload their stories. It might be a session that they've run that's been particularly successful, or a new program they're running. So really GoDigi will allow those organisations on the ground to really promote their activities, and it gives them an outlet for that as well. But certainly it also gives those network partner organisations an opportunity to contribute their data to the broader digital learning and digital literacy understanding. And I think that that over time, I think will become quite a valuable asset, a valuable tool for those organisations interested in creating better digital inclusion to be able to use and to be able to see improvements. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'd welcome any other thoughts on that. If you have other things you think a network partner should or other things we should include in the pack. And the pack will also, sorry, I should have said, the other thing the partner pack will also have will be how to run a community pop-up. The sorts of things, the kind of checklists and sorts of things that we'd be advising them to do. I think there'd be some promotional materials, and so yes, there's a range of that kind of stuff would be in the partner pack as well. But that's kind of in a nutshell. I hope that answered the question.
Great, Brendan. That was our last question, and we are right on time. Actually, there is a last question, if you don't mind. It's from Ganesh again.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
will there be a certification program aligned to the GoDigi program?
Not at this stage. That's a really good question as well. Not at this stage because we recognise that a lot of this kind of, that's what we call community training. If we overlaid the, Cert 2 or Cert 3 kind of level thinking to it, it's likely to turn people away from that learning opportunity. So, we wouldn't. Again, it's like Ganesha's Skype question. We may well add something like that later on into the program. So that would be good. I have to head off shortly to another meeting. So I hope that answered the question, Ganesh. I think it's been very valuable.
Thank you, Brendan. So if you could probably send me the link to the website and the launch date, I could include that in the email that I will be sending the participants shortly.
Not a problem. I'll do that. And if any of the participants want to get in contact with me directly, you've got my email address, and I would really welcome it.
Sure. Great. Thank you so much, Brendan. And thank you each and every one of you who could join us today. You will be receiving an email with a link to the recording and slides. So until next time, thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you.